Hi everyone, Jessica Morrison, Realtor with FC Tucker Company, and we are back for an interview that I have been just so tickled to get on the calendar with Kira Sutton and Hattie's Coffee House. Kira, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's such a delight. I am so excited that you were able to bring the first local coffee house to downtown Whitestown. I think
Thank you.
everybody's just like super curious if they haven't had a chance to talk to you about it already. How did this
Yeah.
come out?
Mm-hmm. I relocated here 9 years ago and was so thrilled with like the charm of small town Indiana. So I'm originally from Los Angeles, a suburb of Los Angeles. That's really similar to Carmel, probably like in size and whatnot. And then I went to school in downtown Chicago. So when I moved to Whitestown, Indiana, 10 years ago almost, it was just a big like culture shock. And I loved the Brick Street in Zionsville. And, like most people do, just was drawn to the charm of it. And there are so many small towns in Noblesville or in Indiana that I love. Noblesville is one of them. And so just the old main streets I have just been drawn to for a long time. And so when I moved here, we would walk on like, there wasn't really sidewalks at that point in the legacy core. So we would just kind of like walk and see so much potential. And you could tell that there was history there. There's some old churches, there are old storefronts, but other than, at that point it was LA Cafe and maybe a few other businesses down there, it there was nothing there. So I immediately was drawn to the general store that's across from the bank building and just really wanted to see a coffee shop go in there, a local coffee shop. Not because I wanted to own or run a coffee shop, but because I just wanted one. So Hattie's has really come out of just um, a, a desire to experience the hospitality myself and wanting to offer that to others. So,
I love it. We were in Walker Farms as well for a
yeah.
while, and I've actually lived in the village of Zionsville. I've lived in Anson. I've lived in Lebanon, and so I've really hopped around
Yay.
personally a lot of Boone County, and it's
Yeah.
so fun to, as a resident, just get to feel the different nuances of these different
Mhm.
suburbs. And
Mhm.
very much so. I remember when, so Dax Norton was still town manager at the time, and there was that red two-story house that ended up getting torn down, and it was right there on the corner of Main and 400 South, and or I've been getting 400 and 300 South mixed up, and I don't know.
Mhm.
I know the road. Um,
Yeah.
but for a while, there was a really cute red two-story, and it was just so distressed the town had to tear it down. And it was just kind of one of those similar things where you walk by abandoned properties and you just wonder, like, what could this be? And
Yeah.
I'm so excited
Yes.
because I think many people do dream and they
Mhm.
see what's possible, but they don't know how. And I think a big reason I'm such a cheerleader for you is because you're one of the few people. I mean, starting a business is not easy. It has a very high failure rate. There's a lot of risk involved and
Yeah.
a lot of big
Yeah.
questions if you've never had anyone around you in your family starting a business to figure out. So,
Right.
how did you take that dream, that vision of bringing a coffee house to Whitestown? What did those next steps look like?
I guess it wasn't linear, if that's the right word to use. So the desire started with kind of one thought like, oh, this particular location, this is going to be it. And when that got shut down, I went to the other location across the street and tried to find space there. And then that got shut down. And so it was a number of like stop and goes. So in January of last year is when I got connected to this location where Hattie's is at 607 South Main. And I think it was a number of things. It was just the right time in my family's life. Um, it was the right location to really dig my heels in and fight for it. And it was the right moment, I think, in like the history of Whitestown. Because even like I look back and 9 years ago, I think if we had done what I wanted to do at that moment, I don't know that it would have been received in the same way. Like Whitestown has grown in the past 10 years, even so much. So I just think it was kind of there wasn't one specific thing that made me go, this is it. But yeah, a lot of stop and goes.
Well, and the perseverance that you pointed out was just being consistent. It's as an entrepreneur, you're going to get doors shut, and you just need to get through the no's, as we say in sales, until you get to the yes. So
Yeah,
I'm really excited
yeah.
because you also alluded to, as a Christian, God's timing and everything. And,
Mhm.
9
Yeah.
years ago, we had no idea COVID was going to come along, and
Oh
that
my
really put
gosh, yeah.
a lot of small businesses out of practice. And so,
Yeah.
you're on the other side of it now, coming out of that as the economy's booming and there's a lot more residential support.
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew it was coming, but I mean, it's more
Yeah.
established
Yeah.
now. So, um,
Yes.
as you've done the renovations to convert this
Mhm.
residential home into a coffee shop, maybe what's a funny story that you uncovered in that renovation process?
Oh, um, my landlord, and he actually is the roaster for Hattie's. So he uncovered so many things, especially in the like in the foresty part of the backyard. There's 2 acres. And so, I mean, I have pictures of just him pulling out tons of like rusty bikes, rusty like pieces of all kinds of things. So that was kind of fun. We saved a bunch of it, not a bunch of it, but we did save some things to try and incorporate. So there's this really cool pulley, I think is what I don't know what it was used for necessarily, but it's in the garage. It's going to be, I think, part of his roastery, like part of the design out there. So nothing really funny. I guess one time I did find a really creepy like picture in the attic of the garage, and that was really weird. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
nothing's funny.
at least you didn't find any skeletons or, um,
No, no. When Mario first bought the property, he did such an amazing job with the house, but
mhm.
he dug out um basically the crawl space because the crawl space hadn't been like taken care of and it was full of dirt. So he dug it out and tried to insulate and seal off, and he did a great job. But there were foxes living here. So that was kind of fun.
I knew it
They
was the
don't live
place
here
to be.
anymore. Yeah, they don't live here anymore, thankfully. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, when you buy a property that needs a bit of work, you never quite know what you're getting into, but that's
Yeah.
really fun. I was reminded of the gentleman off of 32 who recently passed away with the sculptures that he would make out of metal.
Oh,
Um,
oh, I didn't realize he passed away.
yeah, I mean, public, please be nice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, because I think there's been some
Oh,
discussions of his sculptures either being incorporated around town or, just trying to maintain
oh,
that legacy. So fact check me
that's really
on
cool.
that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he passed away recently because he did an
Okay.
interview not that long ago.
Hmm,
It's kind of a tribute to all of the fun metal work that he did. So
that's really
um,
cool.
but yeah, the metal pieces that you found just reminded me of,
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
you make art
Lots
with
of
that
them.
or lots of possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
So how is life running a coffee shop? Is it everything that you dreamed it would be?
Um, like, what can I be honest with you? I'll just be honest with you. No, it's not what I thought it would be, at all. So it, I very much feel like a new mom, like
Mhm.
a first time new mom. I can think back to like when that was my reality with my daughter. And, I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know I had expectations, but then when they weren't met, like, so
Yeah.
I think I envisioned being able to be making drinks all day, every day, and that's what I would get to do.
Mm.
And it's very rare that that's what I'm doing. So there's so much, paperwork and logistical things happening behind the scenes. And there's just a lot of admin stuff that I didn't, quite anticipate, inventory and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. So I'm being stretched like majorly, but we have a really, really amazing staff. There are 22 of us. Um, my mom and my mother-in-law are both helping me like co-manage lead Hatties. And so as you can imagine, like there are really amazing things to that, and there are really challenging things to that too. So it's very much a family-run business, and it's very much a like first-time business owner. So the people that work here are amazing. I'm just like thankful that they're sticking it out with me and they're learning with me as we go, and they're incredible. So
Yeah. Well, your first year in business is a fire hose because you're figuring out patterns, you're figuring out how long
yeah.
things take, and it always takes longer than you think it will, and people make
Mhm.
mistakes or there's delays, and you're trying to deliver a
Yeah.
certain level of experience and consistency. So yeah, it's a lot to figure out. But I love that
Yeah,
you still have a smile on your face. And like you said, it's a team effort, and it's wonderful
it
that
really is.
been able
Yeah.
to incorporate family in that. I know that's kind of a
Yeah,
roll of the dice to see how that goes, but
it is.
I'm
Yeah.
hopeful for you
Yeah.
in that.
Thank you. I knew that like I'm really grateful with both my mother-in-law and my mom. Um I can be like 100% honest with them,
Mhm.
and we can have hard conversations, and I feel like I knew that if we were going to do this, that was going to have to just be on the table. Like
Yeah.
otherwise it wasn't going to work. So we're only 2.5 months in, but we're doing it.
Hey, it's better than 0 months,
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
And you're coming, I don't know whether I can say we're coming into spring yet because it's Indiana. The calendar
Mhm.
year, it's almost March. So
Yeah,
are there events that you're hoping to do for the coming year, or is this more about just seeing what
yeah.
our structure of operations can look like and just getting
Mhm.
a baseline, or what's kind of the next quarter or two looking like
Yeah,
for you?
I am like a big dreamer, and so it's hard to like rein me down. So the idea the idea would probably be best to be spending like this year just taking it easy and like figuring out what running Hattie's inside like looks like. But since I first connected the coffee shop dream with this house dream,
Mhm.
it's like I cannot wait to be outside and do the things outside that I want to do. So I'm working with a local florist who is gonna be making like flower beds outside, where we'll have like you can, create little bouquets of fresh cut flowers. And I have lots and lots and lots of ideas for outside. So I can't wait for people to be able to like enjoy good coffee in a beautiful space outside.
That's
So I'm
wonderful.
excited for that.
Yeah, and you've got plenty
Yeah.
of sun with the way that the lot faces to
Yeah.
maximize on that too. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, so my mind when you were talking about vision and events and things, are you guys planning to be in the upcoming like farmers market with Whitestown, or they do
Mhm.
like the egg hunt? Are you going to have any
Yeah.
community presence there?
I'm hoping to. Yeah. So we did the Marriott Maine event, and that was my first rodeo of like taking Hattie's somewhere. And so we learned a lot. Just learned what we would need. And I'll tell you what, like vendors at farmers markets are the real deal. Like that is hard. It is hard work to
Yep.
set it up, tear it down, put yourself out there and try to sell your art or your product. And the elements, like, I mean, it was freezing. Our staff was like, we were just freezing. So yes, yes, we're going to try, but
Having done a number of vendor events as a business, both in real estate now and in art, yes, it's 100% something that I think everybody should do. So that there's a bit more empathy with when you attend those events, especially when they're free. Um, I think I
oh
kind of wish,
yeah.
like, I kind of wish that every table would have like a tip jar out or like a QR code,
Mm,
like, hey,
if
even if you
not,
don't need
so.
something like, give us a tip for us being here today, because I don't think most people realize like you pay a fee as a vendor to be there, and then you've
Mhm,
prepared materials to bring to the event. So if you're a baker, you have perishable
mhm,
items.
mhm.
And for a lot of businesses, they start out at farmers markets. So they're making
Yeah,
out of their house because they don't have
yeah,
the financial means to go rent a commercial space, which is very
right.
expensive. And then you've
Mhm,
got the time investment, maybe you're paying employees. And so a lot of times it just comes back to brand exposure, and then you hope you get more sales or
I
word of
think
mouth referrals from
so.
it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
You're
wish
not
that,
walking out of there with like a lot of cash.
no, it's kind of a donation to yourself at a certain point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I definitely want us to be a part of those events because I think it is important to be a part of them, but it definitely will be like focused on Whitestown. Like we're not going to be having a Hattie's booth at multiple places. So yeah.
Which is really smart, because I think, again, just building that loyalty base, building your fan
Mhm.
base, and, um,
Yeah.
you know, I think just being consistent with where you're at is going to go so far. Have you been able to build any partnerships with the local new construction neighborhoods, or sometimes they have like grand openings or different events that they do
Yeah.
there, or like apartment complexes?
Hmm. Yeah. So Ryan Holmes has been in quite a bit and they have purchased some like, you know, gifts for people with like their information on it. So they've partnered with us in that they want to promote Hattie's to people who come in to see their model homes and possibly, build with them. But that has kind of been the only one that I can think of.
That's okay. I mean, that was kind of a
I
wild
think there's been
question.
other ones too. No, there have been other model home, like I just don't recall the names.
That's okay. And there's a lot of construction going on in the area
There
too.
is. Yeah.
So we've got about 7 minutes left out of
Yeah.
this interview. What advice would you give for someone who's maybe always had a dream of doing a coffee shop or starting a business? What are some things that you've learned along the way that you would pass on?
Yeah. Um, be curious. Like, I mean, if they want to start a business or they want to open up a coffee shop, I'm sure they already are curious, but just do it afraid. Like I've never at any point in this whole journey felt like confident that I knew what I was doing, or that um and that has been hard for me at times. That's been really hard for like my pride and my morale to feel kind of constantly like I don't know what I'm doing. So just like lean into not knowing what you're doing and find people that do know and that are willing to be gracious and share that information with you. I have just found so many, like Hattie's only exists because there's just been so many people that have been like, here, like this is how you do this. This is who you should contact. Oh, I know a guy, or I know someone who's been in that type of business. And so asking the questions, doing it, you don't need to like have confidence in yourself. I don't necessarily think. I felt very strongly that this was what the Lord wanted for me to do. Um, and that this was a good idea and a good plan. And I felt confident in that. But I wasn't like, I've got what it takes to do this. If anything, this has shown me time and time again that I don't have what it takes. This is by far like the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm still very much in the midst of that raw feeling of like, this is so hard. I'm not having fun, this is hard, 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 hard work. Starting something and maintaining it and also pushing it forward, So I think, I don't know if that was clear or not, but yeah, just ask the questions and find the people around you that are going to be willing to help.
I think all of that is so good. And I love the thread of you didn't express this verbally, but your demeanor highly reflects it in that you're very humble. Um,
Yeah.
being able to go seek help, to invite other people to be willing to admit, I don't know what I'm doing. That takes a
Mhm.
high amount of humility. So especially when I don't know if I can say it's easier to be humble when you're brand new or there's a
Mhm.
temptation to project, I do know what I'm doing because, there's the
Yeah.
presentation that you're giving to people. And
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
kind of a hard maybe position to be in because when you have investors, they want to see that you are confident. So
Yes.
um,
Yes.
I love that you've leaned into that dialogue of partnership and, we all have the different strengths and weaknesses. And I'm sure that you're finding that out in your team of,
Mhm.
if you don't like administrative work, is there somebody who
Right.
loves doing data entry that, you could switch roles
Right.
with? But um,
Yeah.
it's really good advice. I think you said, there's a quote, I think you said, uh, do it afraid. Was what
Mhm.
you said.
Mhm.
That'd be a good on a
Mhm.
t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend who she reached out. It was a book. Brene Brown wrote a book. I think it's called Daring Greatly, or
Mhm.
I can't recall what it is, but the first page is like, I think it's a Teddy Roosevelt quote about staying in the ring. And so the idea is not, you're in like a boxing ring and obviously you're getting beat up. And so it's painful, it hurts, it's difficult. Not everybody stays in the ring, but like stay in the ring. And so she would text me that from time to time, and it was super encouraging. Just don't give up, keep fighting to make it happen. And it definitely has felt like a fight. And yeah, I'm willing to like say part of that is from my own ignorance and inexperience, but I think there is just a lot of I think that there's a lot of difficulties out there for small business owners that don't need to be there. So I think like reform and change and small town government like can definitely help aid and assist business owners, small business owners. And I just think it's time for some of the things to change.
Sure. Is there anything specific that you, not trying to pick on Whitestown, but just in your experience that you feel,
Yeah.
be improved?
Yeah, I think there is there is no clear on-ramp for a citizen to like hop into the business world. Um, and so that is discouraging to me, because then how do you get people from the public sector like just into the small business marketplace, you know? The Boone EDC has been like incredibly helpful with that. But like, if I hadn't had them, I really would not have known where to go, because you call up your local town and it's like you get nowhere. So I think towns can do, I can only speak from my experience. So Whitestown, I think that Whitestown can do a better job of helping people know what the process is and what it looks like. And I think that they are trying. So I'm grateful for that. So there are a number of individuals that really want to see small businesses kind of succeed, and they want to see Whitestown have a diverse offering of businesses. So big chain stores and small mom and pops. But I think it's just like growing pains, I think, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of have that toggling between public and private, or government and free market. And there's kind of,
Yes.
it's kind of like the bridge between the old ways of, I don't know how to articulate this, where, like when you're a new realtor, for example, a lot of agents will come in wanting to be mentored by veteran agents because they don't want to make mistakes. And there's kind of an attitude of entitlement. And I'm not saying this in your case.
Sure.
But the veteran agents have figured out, their ways of doing business. And sometimes they're open to collaborating, and sometimes it's, go figure it out, pipsqueak. Like, I had to swim and learn how to do it. And so I could
Yeah.
see established businesses being like, well, no one helped me. And that
Yeah.
kind of feeds that attitude. But I think that, you know,
Yeah.
in 2024 and beyond, we're becoming a very collaborative society. Indiana has been known to be a state of hospitality and collaboration. A while ago, I got to listen to a panel of CEOs in the tech industry, down at Indiana State, talking about, why they chose to move to Indiana,
Yeah.
because they were coming from
Yeah.
sunny California. And it's like, why did you pick
Mhm.
here? And one person said, Indiana is the best kept secret in the Midwest, which is cool, or in the
Mhm.
country. I mean, it was a pretty high compliment, but he took that further to say, Indianapolis specifically did not have natural land elevation to attract businesses. We had to really work together to collaborate and to create a demand. And so where I'm going with this is, I'm hopeful that as we continue these conversations, and especially with the small business and middle class businesses really kind of getting squashed against these big mega corporations, that we can learn how to better communicate
Yeah.
resources that are
Yeah.
available. Because
Yeah.
it's kind of like people starting nonprofits to serve a cause that, maybe there's
Yeah.
one around since the 70s and they just aren't good at marketing. And so taking advantage of maybe government resources that are available, and just streamlining that into the hands of consumers. Because like in real estate, there's plenty of grant and down payment assistant resources out there. There's creative loan programs, but it's just our job to make sure that we communicate that to the public, and it's not always something that is received. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that as you lead in your experience, that you continue to maybe write down some of those things that are missing. And maybe you could,
Yeah.
not that you don't have
Yeah.
enough to do, but maybe continue to lead and pioneering that for Whitestown.
I would love to, only if for nothing else than like it's just been so incredibly hard. So I would love I would love to see more people do this, but there were so many points throughout last year where I just thought this is why people don't do it. Like this is why, because it's not clear. It's not conducive to the startup costs of a small business. Like the same ordinances being held to me versus Dick's Sporting Goods. Like that, yeah. So there's a lot to say there. And I also want to be just mindful and respectful of like the people in Whitestown, the town of Whitestown, that have been very helpful. And it hasn't been their job to hold my hand or like lead me in it, but there have been a number of them that have. And I'm super grateful for that.
Yes, certainly. And I want to echo that as well, that this is not a criticism or anything. I think there's many good-hearted people who get into public
Yeah.
service and would
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
to do everything, but we're limited in resources and
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
certainly. So kind of an odd closing thought, but something that you kind of alluded to a little bit, and I don't think is also talked about enough, is
Mhm.
just like mental health as a small business owner. So
Yeah.
how have you handled? I
Mm.
mean, this has been a very long process for you to come about into fruition and even just maintaining it. What are some things that you're doing to um, protect your mental health, encourage good mental health in your staff, and um,
Yeah.
just looking forward?
Yeah. I appreciate that question so much. I think that um, similarly to being a mom, like you can't love your kids from a place of like complete depletion. Um, and so making sure I'm going to bed really early. I'm having honest, open conversations with my spouse, with my close friends about how I actually am doing. Um, it's hard because I like to be an open book. That's what my natural tendency is. I think it helps me not feel alone when I hear other people share their experiences. But I feel like the Lord has also taught me that there's wisdom and discretion, and I'm not good at that. So I have been learning like not everybody gets the full story, behind how you're doing or what's going on. And so I've been trying to figure out what that looks like with Hattie's. I think that there is just a whole new world of people that I'm connecting with and meeting with. And so making sure that my relationships that have been really life-giving and really grounding for me are still the ones that are getting that full story has been really helpful. And I have been trying to get in to see my counselor, but haven't had time. So I think that that is one thing that's so important. I think therapy and counseling is so huge. I have not yet figured out how to wed owning Hattie's and like therapy, but I'm going to
We'll
because
have
it's
to
important.
talk privately because I'm sitting on a nonprofit idea. And it's one of
Oh,
those things where I'm just one person and I just need to be a founder and board member and put the
yeah.
right people on it and, get the train moving, because it's just one of those things that, kind of like your experience with the coffee house, big vision could definitely go places, but I do think that there is a very public need. And I love that counseling and therapy is becoming more socially accepted and just kind of like, I'm going to go exercise, I'm going to go to therapy, and um,
Yeah.
just encouraging people to be healthy in all components of life and make sure that when we show up, we're we're bringing the best version of ourselves to those conversations. And
Yeah.
so I encourage you in that where you can. And then
Yeah.
I love that you're also recognizing boundaries as a business owner, because it's hard to, especially like I have an open heart like you, where I just want to tell everybody
Get it
everything
all out
and
there.
be genuine and authentic. And
Yes,
there's not everybody is meant to get all of that,
for
and that's
sure.
hard, because it's hard to not, like, if you're withholding something, it's hard to not feel like you're
Yes,
lying or being inauthentic.
yes,
So,
yes,
but not everybody is a
yes.
safe person
No,
or safe to receive
that's
that
right.
and reciprocate.
That's
And
right.
yeah, so I'll be
Yeah.
praying for you about that, because it's not easy.
It's not easy. It's so not. But yeah, I hope, yeah, to have that. I don't know, the work-life balance is such a buzzword. And I'm sure that in the next, 5 years, I'm gonna learn a lot about what that looks like. But
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got a great team around you. To
yeah.
close, because I think we could talk easily for an hour or more. Uh, Obviously, I'm familiar with where Hattie's is, but if somebody has
Yeah.
not been into Hattie's or is not familiar with Whitestown, what's the
Yes.
best way to come visit you?
Yeah. So check out our website. Everything is written out really plainly there. But we're on Main Street in the Legacy Core, which is just the old part of our town. And parking is an issue, an ongoing issue here. We have 11 spots, and they fill up fast. And so then it looks like we're really busy, but the cafe is like half empty. So there are tips on our website about how to handle parking. So,
That
and
sounds,
we're working every day on adding more and fixing it.
yeah, and I mean, it's hard when you're in the winter months, because it's harder to port
Totally.
free and all of that. So,
Hmm.
and I know you've got
Hmm.
some coming up to address it, but
Yeah.
everyone watching, I hope that you take the time to come support this new coffee shop in Whitestown, give them some love on social media. Kira, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this
Yeah,
interview. I'm so excited we got to do it. And please let
me
us know
too.
how we as an audience can just continue to support. I mean, if there's any events that come up in the future, feel free to put them, in the
Yeah.
comments or something on the video, because it's an ongoing effort to get people in the door.
Yes, yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Jessica. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I almost said you're wonderful, which that's true too. I
I
am so
love it. I
occupied
love
with
it.
words today. So thank you
All
for
right.
tuning in, everyone, and
Yeah,
have a great day.
thanks.